Good evening. Welcome to the Paranormal Gateway First Talk. I'm your host, Scott Wise, and joining me is my co-host, Mel McClash.
Tonight's special guest is Sherri Brake. Sherri is a paranormal researcher, author, columnist, and owner of the award winning Haunted Heartland Tours. Her company has been voted into USA Today's Best Ghost Tour list recently, making #1 on travel.com. For 20 years, she has been organizing and leading paranormal adventures and overnight ghost hunts in locations such as the West Virginia Penitentiary, the Ohio State Reformatory, Waverly Hills Sanatorium, the USS North Carolina battleship, and the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Ireland and Scotland haunted tours take place twice yearly. She has instructed paranormal classes at various community education centers, colleges, the West Virginia Penitentiary, the Ohio State Reformatory, with intriguing subjects such as Ghost Hunting 101, Dowsing, and Spirit Photography. Sherri also composes a popular haunted history monthly column for Tulane Livin, Graffiti and #West Virginia, all West Virginia magazines and publications. Since her tour company began, Sherri has presented hundreds of presentations to libraries, organizations, and led thousands of tours and events. Sherri has worked with various cemetery organizations and genealogical societies in the preservation of old cemeteries and historical locations. So, without further ado, let's welcome Sherri to the show.
Hey
Sherri.
guys.
Hi, Sherri.
Wow, thanks for that introduction, Mel.
Scott
got
writes
tired.
them.
I got tired just listening to everything I've done. I'm gonna go take a
Well,
nap.
maybe do less stuff next
yeah.
time.
Well,
Be
I
less
have some.
accomplished.
I'm pretty sure you're pretty far from retiring, so you still got the good years in you.
No. I think retirement is looming. I'm going to start encouraging people to hop on these events with me because I'm getting tired. I got grandbabies now I got to take care of.
I'm
Oh, it's
old
exciting.
enough to have them, but I don't have any.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. I
So,
got enough
and
for
I
my
hope that
kids.
their future, I hope they're future ghost hunters. You know, the dream of us as
Yeah.
ghost hunters is possibly our children
Uh,
might
my,
take the hobby too.
my son has no interest at all.
No?
No. When he was younger, like it was like 20 years ago, when he was like 5, not 5, earlier, but around there, he was like, "Take me ghost hunting, Daddy." I'm like, "All right, everybody's get older." Like every time we go out, he say that. And now, yeah, he rather play his games. He's going to school now, and
Yeah.
he's playing games. So
Yeah. My kids are they're older too. My son's 28, my daughter's 30, and they grew up with this.
Mm.
When I would do my haunted walking tours in Canal Fulton, Ohio, I would have 50 to 60 people join me to do these walking tours. And I would, pretty much tell my kids, hey, I need a little help. So they tag along, maybe carry a lantern or a flashlight
no,
or whatever. So they grew up with it, and it's like, oh, no big deal. I'll be like, hey, I got another book coming out. They're like, oh, okay. Hey, I'm going to be on TV.
all
Okay,
right,
now, big deal.
yeah,
But it's a lot of fun. This field we love.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what got you started in the field? Like what piqued your interest?
Okay, that's a good question, and I get that asked that a lot because everybody's like, wow, how do you go from just being a mom
Hmm.
into doing tours in 8 or 9 states and 3 countries? How do you do that? How do you make that jump? I
Hmm.
worked in nursing for a while, and then I decided to stay home with my kids, and I was home probably about 11 years, and I was a Civil War reenactor.
Oh,
And as a
Oh
Civil
wow,
War reenactor, I loved dressing the part, carrying the candle lantern,
mm,
going to these battles, and either being a Civil War nurse or a civilian. And I enjoyed that. And occasionally, after the event would be over, some of my reenactor friends would be like, "Hey, have you heard Gettysburg's haunted? Do you have any stories for us?" Or Antietam. We think that there's something
mm,
going on in Antietam. Have you heard about it? And I would start telling stories around the campfire.
hmm.
And that led me to, hey, why not? I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm a Civil War reenactor. I already have the attire. Why don't I put together a walking tour and see if anybody will show up? So I did that. I built a website. I put together a walking tour, and I had 30 people who came to my very first walking tour and paid $10 a person. And I had a blast. They had to listen to me, unlike my little home right? So I love sharing the history and blending the paranormal for everybody to enjoy. And as a child, I was one of those weird kids in the 60s. I watched The Outer Limits. I
Oh
watched,
yeah, me too.
that was a great show, The Twilight Zone.
Oh, I love
Oh,
it. Yeah.
so I was always kind of thinking outside the box, and my love for that, as soon as I could read in school, I would start getting books on UFOs and,
Mm.
the Egyptian pyramids and crop circles and ESP and witchcraft. And so by about age 8 or 9, I was kind of a weird kid.
Yeah,
I actually,
I was the same way. I mean, almost the carbon copy. You just sit there. Exactly.
I remember some of my classmates in 6th grade would give me a dime to put a love spell on their boyfriend. 6th grade. That was after reading one book on witchcraft. I thought I knew it all. Love spells. Easy. What could go wrong, right? So that's pretty much
Yeah.
my start in a nutshell, and all that love of the history and the paranormal. I started investigating in my early 20s. This is back in the 1980s when you didn't really
Mhm.
tell people what you were doing
Mhm.
because you would be, thought of as, oh, she's into the supernatural, she's into the occult,
Right.
she's talking to spirits. So you kind of kept your mouth shut.
Mhm.
But people always would come to you with questions, or you'd end up doing some type of a seance with your friends on an overnighter or whatever.
Oh yeah, we
Uh,
too.
back in the day. So yeah, I've had the interest for a very long time.
Yeah, I started around late '80s, I guess. Right? I was getting out of high school. I got
Hmm.
more into it though, and I started ghost hunting, and I guess I start in 1998. I could get out once I had a chance to. Once just settled there, so I got a group together, and then we were
Oh, cool.
we together since then. I mean, we've been together for about 15, 16 years now.
Yeah, yeah. Boy,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ghost hunting groups that have come and gone in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend, his name is Brian Fain. He is with the Massillon Ghost Hunting Society, was the first organization that he started, and they've been around for 20 some years. And
Right.
he kept track of all the groups in Ohio. He would make sure that the
Right.
website was up and running, and
Mm-hmm.
he had like this booklet of every group. And at one time, there was over 300 ghost hunting organizations
Mm-hmm.
in Ohio that were active. And of course, that's dropped.
Right. I do
People get
there's a site called Paranormal Societies, but that is updated because over half of them aren't even active anymore, if not more.
yeah.
So I would love to be able to do a project like that and just go on now and check and do one site that I know is all active. I got a
Mhm.
lot of time in my hands. I'm gonna start doing that. I
Yeah,
just made I just made that the guy we out last week. He does ghost tours.
mhm.
And he had a book out on the haunted cemeteries.
Yeah,
And so he had divided into sections all the cemeteries and stuff.
yeah.
I created an app that you go in and you hit on the northwest and bring up all cemeteries in um maps in Google. And then you
Wow.
hit the map and it takes you to what cemetery.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
that's a that's a big project. I've
Yeah.
led cemetery walks at night by lantern in Massillon, Ohio. I've done probably 15 or 16 years of those. I haven't for the last few years though, but you imagine gathering people in a cemetery to walk them around to these headstones and talk to them about
Mm,
the pioneers and the shakers and the movers and the
mm.
hobos and the
Yep.
not so well known people.
Right.
The woman that was buried with 5 of her cats. These are
Mm-hmm.
these are because people always go, well, wait, she's got 5 cats in the grave with her. Were they alive when she died? Were they dead before she died? There's all those funny questions. But I love being in a cemetery, and I
Me
love
too.
about the history. And when it comes to investigating, I'm kind of on the fence a little bit because if you go with the common belief that the moment that you die, you're out of there. You're not in the grave. Your energy is not in the grave, according to many religions. So I'm kind of on the fence with the whole could a cemetery be haunted? But that's almost a whole entire show.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Hey, Joe. Hi. Thanks for joining us. Do you have any question though? So,
Okay. Oh, I see. Hey
how are
guys,
you?
look at that. That's good. Yeah, I love answering people's questions because they always want to know what's haunted by me. And I would talk often on radio stations in Cleveland and Akron and in Canton, and people would call in, and it was hilarious because they would call in and they're like, "Yeah, this is my address," and the DJ would be like, "Dude, don't give your address on the radio. Just give us a general location, and then we'll see what Sherri has to say about it." So I always enjoyed doing that on the large market radios, but I would inevitably get somebody that would call in and say, "Yes, I have a question for the psychic."
Ah,
I'm not a psychic. I think everybody's got that little bit of intuition,
oh,
that
yeah.
gut,
And
you
it,
know,
and,
some
and
of
it grows on you too. Once you go out and do it a while, you can tell you're in this place. It's like, oh,
yeah,
then a lot of
yeah,
times you get
yeah.
more activity at night. So, yeah.
But I think,
It's,
and I'm sure Mel will agree with this too, the more that you're in these locations, these haunted, these active locations, the more that you expose yourself to that energy, I think the more sensitive you get to it, especially if you repeatedly go to the same building over and over again. We were talking about the Ohio State Reformatory before we went on air. And, I know you've been there plenty of times, but there's certain rooms that you walk into that always have a little bit of funk to them. It's got that thick, heavy feeling to it, that energy that's kind of oppressive. And, that's why I like going back to these places time and time again, because sometimes that energy will move around. And a lot of the experiences that I've had at the Ohio State Reformatory have been when I'm getting ready for the evening to begin. I've been making coffee. I've been setting out bottles of water. I've been just taking a quick tour of the building, and I get stuff that happens to me. And you're not prepared because you're not investigating. I'm doing the business end of it. I'll never forget. I was making coffee one evening in the warden's dining room. That's a beautiful room. And I was coffee pots, bottles of water. I was putting out other food and desserts and brownies. Business mind, right? Making the coffee, and I hear boot steps behind me on the wooden floor. And I turn around thinking that it's one of the tour guides that have popped in to say hi, and there's nobody behind me. So, it's things like that that get your attention in the building. I remember many occasions stepping into certain cells and having my hair pulled or played with. I've been spit on twice at the Ohio State Reformatory from up above. Not rain at all, but that spittle, that purposeful, it's disgusting, but it gets your blood going. Because then you're a detective and you're trying to figure out what the heck just happened.
Joe has a comment in the comments. Joe, he says, "I believe some spirits are in limbo. What do you think?"
I think that you can be, but I think when you talk about limbo, I would think about purgatory in a way. We have the earthly plane, we have the heavenly plane, and then you have those that are in purgatory that are somehow in between. We've got over 2,000 religions worldwide. They all believe in some kind of an existence. Most of them, I should say, most of them believe in some type of an existence after death. Whether you become an angel, you're a spirit, whether there's judgment day and you're judged then. Some people believe that you're judged immediately at the moment of death. It depends. But being in limbo, I can agree with that. And when I first started investigating, and Joe, that's a good question. When I first started investigating, I used the words spirit and ghost interchangeably. And as I've progressed through the years and I've spent time with psychics and mediums, the majority of them believe that the spirit and the ghost are two different things. The spirit is, the essence of the soul that has gone beyond, whether it's heaven, nirvana, Valhalla, whatever you believe in. That spirit has gone on and has passed. A ghost is still trapped here for some reason. And there's multiple reasons why they could be trapped. A job unfinished. Maybe they're building a house and they love their house and they die in their house. That's an unfinished job to them, so they're going to haunt the property. Maybe it's out of stubbornness. Personality plays into it a lot. If you have a stubborn person who's alive and they pass and they don't continue on, that energy can be that personality type. Somebody that's mischievous, somebody that's stubborn. There's all kinds of reasons why entities can hang out. So, and that is a type of limbo as well. And then you get into hauntings and different types of hauntings, energies, earth energies, ley lines,
Yeah.
gangers. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, because with every question you think you answer, it's like you bring up 3 or 4 more. It's nothing in the paranormal is black and white. And you guys know this with being investigators. It's
Yeah.
50 shades of paranormal
Oh,
is basically
yeah.
what it is. So, yeah. I think that there are beings, entities out there that are in limbo, and it's a very sad situation. So that's a good question. He's agreeing. Yeah. We could talk a whole hour on that. Thank you for your question. We were talking about the Ohio State Reformatory, and for those of you that haven't been there, I want to see if you can see this.
Yeah.
All right, so that's just part of the building.
Mm-hmm.
So when the inmates would approach up the driveway to be brought in to be processed, they would see this castle-like building, and a lot of them called it Dracula's Castle.
Mm-hmm.
It did look like
Yeah.
a castle. And Levi Schofield was the architect for it, and that's the reason why he built the building that way, is he wanted to uplift and kind of make your spirits like, oh yeah, I'm going to learn to read and write, and I'm going to walk the right side of the line now, not the wrong side of the law. So that was supposed to inspire people, but it does look pretty eerie at night, especially when you got a full moon up there in the clouds.
Yeah.
It's a building that has a lot of stories to it.
And it's back in there too. It's a good drive back into there too.
Yes, it is. And my tours to Ireland and Scotland, we spend a lot of time in the castles over there. We are for a while there. We were going into Lep Castle, which is privately owned, and it's supposed to be the most haunted castle in Britain. It's been on a lot of shows, Ghost Adventures. I mean, you name any show out there worth its weight has been there. Lep Castle, Edinburgh Castle, Stirling Castle in Scotland, places that are thousands of years old, not just hundreds of years old like the Ohio State Reformatory, but thousands of years old. They've seen battles and sieges and people shoved out of the windows and falling to their death on the cobblestones below, and executions out in front of these castles of the witches. The women that were burned at the stake and accused of witchcraft, numbers in the thousands in Ireland and Scotland. All of that energy, I think it just layers itself, on top of each other in the atmosphere. And when the atmosphere is right and you've got the right person investigating, you've got the right atmospheric conditions, whether it's a full moon, a new moon, maybe right after a thunderstorm, something to help the energy along, you've got a great recipe for paranormal activity. And I love, love, love those trips overseas. Oh my gosh. It's just absolutely amazing to go to an ancient stone circle that predates Stonehenge and stand there and touch those stones that have been there for thousands and thousands of years. It's mind-boggling, and it's humbling as a human. It's spiritual, and it can be a little eerie at times too.
Yeah. That's why I can't wait to we'll get there. I got a few more good years left of me.
I
Mel's
see
like,
Joe's
what?
Franklin Castle there. Yeah, Franklin
Yeah.
Castle in the Cleveland area. What a place. And it seems like everybody that has owned that building has had really not so nice things happen. There have been
Hmm.
fires, there's been divorces, it's been closed up, then it's been reopened, then it's been closed up. A lot of people believe it's cursed. And it's pretty cool to be able to stand out in front of that building. And I think I read somewhere where they're starting tours there. Have you guys heard anything about that?
I haven't
I
heard
don't
it, but that
know.
doesn't mean it has.
Yeah. I wouldn't
Yeah,
know.
I
I
read it
haven't checked
somewhere.
over it. But
Yeah.
quite easy
I
to
love the old
find out though.
tours.
I gotta check it
You know,
out.
there's a belief, we're talking about castles and prisons and old mansions that are made of sandstone and limestone. You know, that crystal, that high quartz or crystal content can hold energy. So if you have a
Mhm.
building that's constructed of this, like the Ohio State Reformatory, over 200,000 square feet, it's made of that stone. That stone has been witness to murders,
Mhm.
suicides, riots. Who's to say that that stone doesn't actually act like almost like a cassette tape for us oldies, back in the day, a cassette tape that records, and holds the voice there. And then when you play it back, it just keeps retaining what's there and you
Right.
can layer on top of that. But occasionally you still hear that noise from the previous recording. You guys, well, I don't know if Mel's old enough.
To remember cassette tapes, they're not that
Yeah,
old.
I,
Yes.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how young you were.
No, that's
Okay.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember cassette tapes.
I a real way, real to real.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, I remember getting the cassettes out and having to get the pencil,
Oh
the
god,
eraser,
yeah.
and then sit there in the spool and kind of because your tape eater would sometimes eat that tape, and then you're like, oh my god, my
Even with even the
my favorite
VCR,
tape.
the VCR tapes too.
Mhm.
Oh my god, I remember getting the
Oh,
security cameras to hook up the VCR. It's like, oh my god,
oh yeah,
I have to
yeah,
hit the
yeah.
scope
A
and
lot
turn
of
it
my
off.
a lot of my first ghost hunting shows were recorded on a VCR tape, not beta, not that old. But yeah, gosh, I remember. Do you guys remember the very first Ghost Adventures episode that came out? And I think they were at the Goldfield Hotel in Nevada, and that brick went airborne and flew. You
No, yeah, I saw
guys
one.
ever see
Yeah.
that? Well,
Mm.
we were out there last week. My husband and I was out there in Nevada. We have a haunted Las Vegas trip coming up beginning of March. I got 40 people going with me. So we went out there to kind of skirt around Area 51 and stop at the Clown Motel, which is the scariest motel
I want to
in
hear more about
America.
that.
Yeah. Just scary just because there's clowns everywhere
You
and there's
are.
a cemetery next door.
Clown's
But it
not
was cool.
bothering me.
It
Not
was,
bothering
yeah,
me.
well, it was cool to spend the night there.
Mm.
And I remember my mom always saying, you got more to fear from the living than you do from the dead. We had we had some thugs out in the parking lot that were doing donuts late at night. And I'm like, good God, that was
uh,
the most action we saw that night. So it's supposed to be the
yeah.
most scariest motel. And we stayed at the most haunted hotel in all of America, which is in Tonopah, Nevada. And probably, I want to say like 120 miles north of Las Vegas. It's the Mizpah, and it's made of stone as well and haunted by the lady in red, who was, they believe, a prostitute who was murdered on site there. She had a room up on the 5th floor, and when she was killed, her pearl necklace split apart and the pearls went flying everywhere. That's how they found her, with the blood and everything like that. So now to
Mhm.
this day, people that are in the lady in red's room, which is on the 5th floor, they'll occasionally find a pearl underneath their pillow or on the floor somewhere,
Oh wow.
which I think is kind of cool. Then the 3rd floor is haunted as well. They have ghost children. Now, come on, any type of a ghost is kind of creepy, but those of
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
Yeah, so you hear children laughing, and they'll see people walk up and down the hallways, and some of the guests will have like the blanket yanked off of their leg in the middle of the night and things like
Yeah.
that. So we had a good time on that. We skirted Area 51, all 400 miles of it. We did this big loop from Las Vegas up to Goldfield, over to Rachel, Nevada. We went to the back gate of Area 51 and then on back down into Las Vegas. And
Do
wow,
you
there's
take
some stories
do,
out
you- do you
there.
take your drone?
Now we didn't get into any trouble or anything like that.
All
I mean,
right.
we were right up at the gate, and they've got the big speaker system up there. And if you get a little too
Yeah.
close, they're like a step away from the gate. But it was cool. It was cool. I'm into UFOs a little bit, into Bigfoot a
Mhm.
little bit. Find
Yeah.
it fascinating. All the different theories with cryptids.
Mhm.
The Loch Ness Monster, when we're over in Scotland, we're on a boat for about an hour on Loch Ness. How cool is that? I've never seen Nessie. 8 times that I've been on Loch Ness, I have never seen her. But every single time I'm on that boat, I look. Hey, you never know.
Yeah, you know, yeah. That's it. We were up in New York, up at Hinsdale House, and we had to record an hour a night. We said some strange noises, grunts, and
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, when I do my ghost hunting my classes, I always tell people ghost hunting's like fishing, because sometimes you sit for hours and hours and you wait for that one little bite to happen. And it's the
mhm.
same with the paranormal, because you
Mhm.
can spend 6 hours walking around, not a single thing happens, and then you capture that EVP, or you have that maybe the sensation of somebody stroking your cheek or pulling your hair, or you see shadow people out of the corner of your eyes, and boy, that gets you going.
Yeah.
Right? What caused that?
Mm.
What just happened? Why did they see something and I didn't? Or why did I, feel a cold spot and nobody else did? So it really
Yeah.
is like being a detective, and I love it, and I love to share that with people.
Yeah. I'll do go over all the events. I enjoy doing that.
Mhm.
So,
Hmm. Yeah, over the years of doing this, I've seen thousands of people, and now I've got regulars that not only that bring their kids that are teenagers now, but then I've got grandparents who bring their grandkids that are, they might come on my walking tour and bring the 7-year-old who's just really into ghost hunting, shows up with a little LED on his head, and he's got his own EMF meter, and he's just ready to knock it out of the park. And I love seeing that, because it's a great hobby for people to have.
right.
And some of these trips, like this Ireland and Scotland trip, this is a trip of a lifetime for many people. They've saved up for a couple of years,
Mhm.
and by God, they're going to go over there and they're going to have a good time. And boy, I'll tell you, we see everything that we can see. We do everything that we can do. We're exhausted by the end of the trip, because we just try to shove as much in there as we can. But then when you sit down and you look at the photographs that you've taken and the places that you've been to, Culloden battlefield, with the Jacobite rebellion, and you had thousands of Scots that were slaughtered at Culloden on the moor. And to think all that happened within just a very short amount of time, it's like Gettysburg. Over 50,000 people died at Gettysburg. Men, soldiers, young boys, killed instantly, especially in Pickett's Charge, where you've got like a 20-minute charge and something like, I think it's 12 or 13,000 men that died in 20 minutes.
Right.
And then you get the bright idea to build a hotel
Yeah.
right there where Pickett's
Well,
charge took place,
but
and all those people.
lot of them died from diseases too. I mean, yeah,
Right,
that
right. But
was.
Gettysburg, I mean, yes, amputations,
Mm,
sloppy
mhm.
medical care. There were no antibiotics at the time.
Right.
Sterilization wasn't exactly something that they practiced. I mean, that was discovered by mistake. I think there was a doctor who took some horse hairs. He was going to use them to do a suture on a battlefield wound. And I think to make it a little bit more pliable, he put it in hot water to be able to string it to do the sutures. And he noticed that there wasn't any type of infection that happened with that. So sometimes things like that are discovered by mistake, but boy,
Yeah.
Gettysburg is an amazing place. Any place where you have that much death, it's sacred, it's sad, but it's also enlightening to be there and have an experience. Um, it's just an amazing place to go to. We've done 3 or 4 haunted Gettysburg tours over the last probably 15 years or so. I love the
Mhm.
battlefields.
Wow. Yeah.
How did you choose like Scotland and Ireland as your go-to places?
That's a good question. I've always felt drawn to
Hmm.
Ireland ever since I was a little kid. I loved St. Patrick's Day. Who doesn't? But when we grew up, we were always told we were German. So lo
Hmm.
and behold, I do DNA and find out that I'm 68% Scottish and Irish. So I think it was in my genes originally because I didn't know those numbers when I first started taking people over there. I
Hmm.
just knew we were going to take a boat across Loch Ness. And how cool is that? I knew that we were going to be hugging some ancient stone circles, that we were going to be Stirling Castle, and we were going to go to Guinness, as soon as we get
Oh,
there.
yeah, yeah.
It's right at the Guinness storehouse.
Oh,
We were going to go
yes.
to M jail, the haunted jail there in Dublin. We were going to be doing ghost walks and going into these places and exploring. And I just was always drawn to it. So now I know why, because it's genetic. I felt that tug to it. Now I am studying up on Iceland. I'm going
Ooh.
to plan I don't know if I'm going to call it a haunted Iceland, but it might be like mysterious Iceland or something like that, because you have history, of course, with the Vikings, the folklore. You also have a witchcraft, sorcery museum there. So there's some cool places to check out in Iceland. And I've been working on Las Vegas, or not Las Vegas, New Orleans, the last couple of years. And of course, COVID this is no pun intended, it's kind of killed the tourism industry, shutting down hotels. You guys, everybody knows that. But it's been hard to kind of start the gears back up again and
Hmm.
plan some of these research trips, you
Yeah.
know. But I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, to answer your question, I just was always drawn to it, and apparently a lot of people are, because we've done 8, I believe. Majority of them had around 40 people
Hmm.
on them. So we do the Ireland and Scotland, and then I just have a haunted Ireland that I do, and I do have that coming up in 2024 in April. We just launched that. That is an 8-day, 7-night trip with yours truly onto the Emerald Isle, talking about fairies and folklore and
Wow.
witchcraft and
That's
locations.
very cool.
And we do Dublin and Galway and oh my gosh, Kilkenny and Killarney, and we go into Kilkenny Castle, which is in the top 5 haunted castles of Ireland. We're also in Ross Castle, which is in Killarney, and that is one of the top haunted castles as well. So we try to do that paranormal checklist, check, check.
I think that's really cool. The Iceland trip sounds like it would be very cool.
I think it'll be fun too, and I love doing domestic stuff. I've got a Haunted America conference with Troy Taylor coming up in Alton, Illinois. I think it's the
Hmm.
26th anniversary. That's a big deal. That is a all weekend long ghost hunts, ghost walks, classes after hours, speakers. That's an amazing conference to be part of, and I've been doing that for I think since 2015. And of course, the Ohio State Reformatory Paracon that is coming up in May. I'll be there as a
Mhm.
vendor, and I hope to see you guys there.
Yeah,
Then
we should be
I'm doing
there.
good. And I'm doing Hidden Marietta. They are doing an event in, let me think if I remember, I think it's in May. And then I'm in Parkersburg, West Virginia at the Haunted Appalachian Conference that is coming up March 18th, which is St. Patrick's Day. So I got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm looking forward to this year. It's going to be a blast. I've slowed down a lot. I was doing about 100 events a year, sometimes over 100 events a
Wow.
year. If you can imagine stuff on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, sometimes I'd have 2 events on Saturday, and I'd, just kind of stair step them there. And now it's about quality.
Mhm.
I really enjoy taking the time to travel to these places and not being in such a hurry to go from point A to point B. So I'm enjoying that a lot, and I'm really looking forward to this haunted Las Vegas trip
Mhm.
in March. It's going to be a blast. There's a lot of people that are coming with me that have never been to Las Vegas, so I can't wait to show them the darker side of it all. And of course, one place we're going to visit while we're in Vegas is, if you guys, I know you've seen Ghost Adventures, but Zach Bagans has his haunted museum
Mhm.
out there in
Mhm.
Vegas, which is the number one tourist attraction right now. So we're going to pay a
Wow.
visit to the second day that we're there. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I hope so. You read stories about everybody coming out and they see the Dybbuk box and they see all this haunted stuff that's got curses attached to it and possessed doll babies and all that. And I'm like, ooh, I hope we don't take any of that juju on the bus. We might have to be spritzing each other with some holy water.
Yeah. There was I went to Poachtown Elementary School, and they have
Mm,
a doll room. Actually,
yeah.
2 rooms full of dolls. It was that I didn't creep me out, but my one friend there, he was freaked out. He was dolls.
Ye Yeah, I think it's
But
just those gazeless eyes,
yeah, yeah.
and some people feel that way about clowns, they
Hmm.
see a clown and it just creeps them out. My sister's that way. She hates clowns. She
Mm.
always has hated clowns. So for me
Wow.
to do it to go to the clown motel and spend the night, that was interesting. And to have that old Wild West cemetery next door to it, with hundreds of graves of people that had been strangled or shot
Right.
or died of disease or been in a mine collapse, and they're all buried there. It's pretty interesting. I love that Wild West out there. Just the vastness of it and the colors and the sky and the mountains and Area 51's back gate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty
I think
interesting.
I think maybe some people think about clowns. They think about John Wayne Gacy.
Yep.
Ugh. But
Yeah. Yeah.
he did look creepy.
Yeah, I was talking to the owner of the Clown Motel, and I guess they're going to have some. There's going to be a movie that's going to be streaming on Hulu that's going to be filmed there, and I thought he said something to me about Disney, but then after I left, I'm like, why would Disney come to the Clown Motel unless it's?
Why did Gacy do Hulu?
Yeah,
I don't know. Uh,
yeah, I don't know. So more power to him. I did buy a T-shirt.
do you?
I spent the night at the Clown Motel. You better
Yeah.
believe I'm gonna have a T-shirt.
Yeah. I'm hoping to get a T-shirt at the Reformatory this year.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, every other year I buy a shirt, and I mean my closet is packed with ghost hunting t-shirts.
yeah.
I've got everything, just Ouija boards and all kinds of just crazy stuff on my closet. The entire closet's like black and gray. This is not a problem, with that. But yeah, I love it. I love investigating. I love exploring. I love finding new locations for people to visit. The West Virginia Penitentiary is one that is near and dear to my heart as well. I've written 2 books on the West Virginia Penitentiary in Moundsville. And, Charles Manson's mother was an inmate there back in
Wow.
the day. Back in the day when they had women as inmates, she was there. And yeah, so it's fascinating. 998 documented murders and suicides. 998 documented. So can you imagine how
Hmm.
many weren't documented? And that building, and again, made from sandstone, limestone, all that quartz crystal content.
Hmm.
Uh, the building's huge. It's 5 blocks long by 2 blocks wide. Uh, and they executed people, not like the Ohio State Reformatory. You know, they never did any executions in Mansfield, but at the West Virginia Pen, you better believe it. 85 hangings, 9 electrocutions. And they invited the public to
Mm-hmm.
the early executions. You'd come and you would bring the wagon, or you'd come in and wear your Sunday best attire. You know, in the late 1880s, early 1900s, the family would come out and it'd be like a family event. You take your kids to it.
Yeah.
I mean, you think we're a gruesome society now. You look back on some of that stuff. You know, these families that would pack a picnic lunch and
Right.
show up at the courthouse or at the jail to watch people be executed. Oh, it's
Well,
like watching a
well,
train wreck or a car wreck. You don't
yes,
really want to watch, but you know,
it's like when they hanging, they thought that was too cool and unusual, but then they went and built old Sparky, the electric chair. I didn't
right?
think that was any better. You know what
Yeah,
I
you
mean?
know, the one in Ohio, the electric chair in Ohio, was actually built by an inmate.
It's
Isn't that crazy?
they died it too, didn't they?
You know, let me think. I know he ended up getting incarcerated again. He was out on parole. I need more coffee. I'll have to
That's
think
what,
about that. But
yeah,
I do remember his last name was Justice, believe it or
oh
not.
yeah,
So we could
yeah.
Google that. I'm just trying to remember if he was executed in his own chair.
Um,
That would be a really good documentary, wouldn't it?
yeah.
The guy with the last name of Justice. It's crazy. But you know, there's a lot to be said for these haunted properties, these old asylums, sanatoriums like Waverly Hills in Kentucky. Just the history alone is reason enough to go there and visit, to do a day tour, maybe stick around and do a night tour, an overnight investigation, because there's a lot that we don't have answers to. And I like thinking, figuring out why. Why does this person see something and I didn't? Why can this person converse with something that's there and I don't see it? It's just fascinating, the workings in the human mind. So that's just my take on it. And I'm
Yeah.
a people person. I really enjoy
Yeah.
seeing these people. They become like family.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of the times, you know, I'm on a first name basis with a lot of folks, and I know their kids by name. We send Christmas
Mhm.
cards to each other. And
Wow.
there's a lot to be said for that. You know, thousands of people. Not that I send out thousands of Christmas cards, because I
Yeah.
the last couple years, but to see people and know them, and I just enjoy that. And it's like one big happy family, the paranormal, and it can be with groups too. Now there are some groups
Right.
out there that are a little strict and over the top with some of their protocol, and there's some that are very divisive. They don't want certain people in their group, and I hate to see
Right.
that. I like to see the unity and everybody accepting, not because I don't want you here because you're not a Christian or you're an atheist. You only have to be an atheist to be in our group, or pagan or Wiccan
Right.
or
Right.
neo-pagan, or you know, a witch or solitary practitioner or whatever. I think everybody brings something to the table, and so I hate to hear of people being turned away from investigating groups, and I know it happens, and sometimes there's a good
Yeah.
reason. But
Right.
yeah, it's a great hobby. It's been a great, I'm going to say, career. It hasn't been a
Mhm.
job. It's 22 years, so
Yeah.
this has been something I've been doing a long time, and I really enjoy it, and I'm very lucky,
Yeah.
very lucky.
You know, a lot of places we go out and like get through 4 or 5 hours and you don't hear anything and do anything, but a lot of times they'll look back and you go over the evidence and stuff, and they're like talk of a storm.
Hmm.
Yeah, we pick a lot of stuff up there, but it just
Yeah, you know, I think probably the most fascinating piece of evidence for me is electronic voice phenomena, is
mhm.
EVP.
Yeah.
Especially
Right.
if you're the only person in the room and you can rule
Mm.
out anything, anybody, any sounds, any ambient noises out there, and get an intelligence answer.
Mhm.
That to me says a lot. Now, photographs, there could be so many anomalies, dust,
Right.
pollen, you
Yeah.
know, sun reflection, people messing with photographs, photoshopping stuff, and then sending it to
Yeah.
you.
That's sick to
I
me.
don't know. I don't know how many photographs I looked at that had that same ghost girl image,
Oh
like the
yeah.
girl from, with the long hair, with the white dress on, and she's just standing there. I don't know how many people sent that to me and said, "Oh, my friend sent me this photograph and said that this was in her little boy's bedroom. And do you think it's a
Yeah.
ghost?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's that stupid app
Oh, or it's
that
a
you can,
Bachelor Grove ghost. That got
yeah,
spit around a lot too.
yeah,
So
yeah." So I still get stuff sent to me. I still get evidence. I listen to EVPs, film, video footage, security cameras. That's been a big
Mm,
one for the
mhm,
last 5 or 6
that's cool.
years because so many people are putting them in their home.
Yeah.
mhm.
And, a lot of times they're catching dust, because it's just dust wafting around there, coming in real close to the camera, to the night vision, um, and orbs. Oh, much ado about orbs.
Yeah. Uh,
But every once in a while, there's something that really gets my attention, and I'm like,
well, yeah,
"Holy crap!
yeah.
What do we got here? This is not a bug. This is not an
Right,
orb. This is not somebody's finger out in front of the camera lens.
right.
you know."
Or if you catch one in motion on film, what you can tell if it's not a bug by the way it moves. We had Patty Nagri on a couple weeks ago. We got one on air of one
Oh
flying by
wow.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've actually seen two photographs from the late 1800s that have what looks to be an orb in the photograph,
Mm,
which of course back then the way that you would develop, sometimes you would have glass negatives. It could
Yeah.
be water
Yeah.
stained, there could be a lot of things, but it's like, wow, that looks like a modern day orb in the photograph. So, you know, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
There
when
are
you
some
get
exceptions, yeah.
What were you going to say, Mel?
sorry, so like when you get evidence sent in from people, do you like go to some of the locations and investigate? Like, have you ever like been compelled to go visit? Like,
Most of the
and
time it's a private home.
hmm.
Um, a lot of the times, I should say some of the times it's a private home. A lot of the times it's the place that we investigated together. At the
Okay.
ghost hunt last week, at the ghost hunt the
Hmm.
night before, maybe at the paranormal class I instructed, and we usually do 2 hours where we go out in the building and we explore and use the equipment. They might have captured something then. So they'll send it to me and say, "Hey, we know that uh, we were in the sub basement at
Hmm.
OSR below solitary. And do you know if there's anything on the wall that looks like this? Because it looks like there's a man standing over there in the corner."
Hmm.
you know so it's cool because then I can go back through some of my photographs because I've got hundreds of every room there, like
Yeah.
any other investigator that goes there. So I can pretty much say, oh yeah, that's paint, that's a splot, of something on the wall. Yeah, that looks like a shadow, but it's in the stone or whatever. So I enjoy it. It's hard for me to find time anymore.
Hmm.
Life's just busy, and somebody will send me an hour of evidence audio
Hmm.
to listen, see if they captured any EVP, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I hardly ever have time to sit and go through my own."
Yeah.
Same my
Any
way. I'll go over it.
Oh, you do it? Well, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
all right, Scott,
Yeah.
all right, I'll
Yeah.
do that. Then you're my go-to guy now.
Yep. Yeah, I don't mind. I
Check your
call.
email later.
Well, I will. I don't mind doing. I love to do it. So yeah.
Well, Mel, I want to ask you, what place would you love to investigate that you've not gone to yet? Like the Mecca, like the big one.
That's a good question. I am actually relatively new, so there are like most places I haven't been.
Okay.
Like I actually haven't been to the reformatory before. So I do want to go there. Um, I don't have like a specific place, but I want to go to like New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
And kind of do a bunch of stuff down that way. Um,
Right.
I think there are a lot of abroad places that would be good. Like, you've gone to Scotland and Ireland, and there are a bunch of castles there. There are a lot of castles in Germany that I think
Mhm.
would be really interesting to investigate. Um, Yeah, I'm trying to think
Yeah.
of like more specific examples. I know I do
Because
have a list, but
some people are drawn, and Scott, maybe you're like this. Some people are drawn to prisons. It's like
Mhm.
Yeah.
all they want to do.
Mhm.
Other people are like, no, I like hospitals. I don't like that dark energy in a prison, but I like hospital energy. And I'm like,
Right.
people died in the hospital. Accidents happened in the hospital too. But I just find it fascinating that there's some people out there that won't set foot in a sanatorium, but they'll do
Mm.
a prison over and
Mhm.
over and over again. But the sanatorium then is just, I can't deal with that. I can't go there. And on some of my tours, I've had people turn around and they've left. They've walked into the lobby. Say, for instance, the West Virginia Penn, I can think of 2 instances where people came into the lobby on our overnight ghost hunt. They had a piece of pizza, they had a cup of coffee, they sat down, they looked around, and they're like, I'm not going any farther.
Hmm.
And I'm like, there's a huge building out here to explore. There's miles of hallway. There's hundreds of cells. And they're like, seen enough. I'm going to sit here all night long, and then they're done.
Yeah.
And
Our group,
empaths pick up on
yeah,
that.
our group back many years ago went to Burns County Jail to investigate,
How was that?
and awesome. We got a lot of stuff out of there too. So it went twice. So
Yeah, I like small places. I like the large places. I like outdoor locations. They're a little harder to investigate. But I just never get tired of it. And if I had a mini me or a clone, man, I'd be over 100 events a year. I would. I've got 2 books I'm trying to wrap up. I've got a podcast I started a few months ago. I've got my website. I got over 50,000 people on my email list. Um, I've got a new store at Etsy that I'm doing paranormal t-shirts and stuff. I've got 9 Facebook pages. So it's a lot and 2 grandkids. It's a lot to keep up with.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
And I live on a farm. There's always
There you
something
go.
that needs to be done on a farm.
Do you keep any pigs inside?
Huh?
Do you keep any pigs inside?
No, we don't have any pigs. We have 55 chickens.
Wow.
And I'm glad I have 55 chickens because have you checked out the price of eggs?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
after tomorrow, there'll be 54.
I got security cameras. That's all I'm saying. I've got 8. We've got 8 on the property, I think, the last count. And because people always ask me, "Hey, you live in Sasquatch territory. Have you ever captured anything on one of your cameras?" And I'm like, no, I haven't. I have construction workers here almost every day because we're building this log house here. So I have guys walking around everywhere, and you don't really want to watch construction workers all the time, really. I mean, some people might.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. But as far as finding something really cool on the cameras, we see a lot of deer.
Mhm.
We've seen bear. We've encountered bear. We have black bear here. So that makes things a little interesting. We've got rattlesnakes and copperheads, in West Virginia, so that can make walking around
Mhm.
outside. I also happen to live in a valley where we've had numerous Bigfoot sightings. So that has been interesting because I've lived here for 13 years now. Never did I dream that I would leave suburbia in Canal Fulton, Ohio, and move to 300 acres in the middle of nowhere, with trail cameras everywhere and live where Bigfoot thrives. So
Wow.
that's been interesting. I haven't seen him, but I have heard.
I'll be going out at night, like every night.
I'll tell you, I was a skeptic. I'm not a skeptic anymore.
Right.
I am not. So bring it on, Mr. Bigfoot.
Yeah. I'll just send you that recording I got then that we got up in New York. So I'll send you that.
Yeah, I'd love that. And out west, they're into all kinds of things like that as well. Especially like Las Vegas with the UFO sightings. Strange lights over Area 51, thousands and thousands and thousands of acres, that are behind the mountains. You don't know what goes on back there, but people see the strange triad of lights circling, things darting and dashing and making strange formations and stuff. So of course your mind can wander a little bit, but I laughed at those UFO people till I saw something one night, not out there, but here in West Virginia on my own property, up in the sky, moving at a very fast rate of speed, bouncing around in the sky like a ball of light. And then it just shot off to the south. Didn't make a noise. I stood there like frozen, analyzing it, because it's like investigating. When you're caught up in the moment, you don't think to grab a recorder, grab an EMF meter or whatever. You're just checking it out. Or you see a shadow person because you don't want to move your eyes. So when I saw it and tracked it, it was probably 10 seconds. I had my phone right next to me, but I didn't think to grab it and take a photograph. I was just like, what is that? Shoo, across the sky. So
we come for your chickens.
No, they better not. Granny's packing.
I sure got the shotgun by the door.
Yeah, things get interesting down here. So I love West Virginia because we got the Mothman, famous cryptid out of Point Pleasant. We've got the Greenbrier Ghost out of Greenbrier County to the south of me. To the north of me, I've got Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which I wrote a book on. You've got the West Virginia Penitentiary. You've got the Flatwoods Green Monster. You got all kinds of things going on in this state. And it's pretty cool to live here. It really is. And I appreciate you guys having me on because I love to talk, as you can tell.
Yeah, I like it when we have talkative guests. It's really interesting to learn about everybody's experiences and
it is
what aspects of it that they're really interested in and things like that.
Yeah. I was surprised this was an hour because I'm so used to doing 2-hour shows, and I'm like, oh my God, they're not gonna be able to shut me up. I'm just gonna be talking and talking. So much to share.
Sometimes we go over. It's a big deal.
Yeah, so I've enjoyed, you guys have a podcast. I've enjoyed starting my podcast. I started it back in October, and it's Haunted History with Sherri Brake.
Yeah,
and
I saw that on your site.
Yeah,
so
it's on Spotify and all those, Alexa and Amazon Music and
or this
Stitcher,
too,
all that stuff. I love it. It's been hard to find time to podcast.
Yeah,
because since we have construction going on here all day long, it's boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
I can't podcast, and then come nighttime, I'm into other stuff. So I'll get to it. I'll put it on the paranormal back burner.
Yeah. Yeah, we are booked out to May now.
Are you? Congratulations.
Yeah.
That is great.
Got a lot of payroll teams come on, and
yeah.
Well,
I hope to see you in May at the Reformatory. Mel, I hope you make it out there and get to venture around. I mean, we got some folks that are coming to speak that are great speakers, and a few of them have gotten shows. I know Dave Schrader's coming, and Heather Taddy, and there's a whole list of people that are going to be super speakers. So come on out.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I hope we can too. I think we'll get there. So we'll definitely we'll come visit you for a while.
Yeah, that'd be great. Come hang out at my little table.
Yeah, we'll hang out.
I'm at the I'm right off the central guard room. I think I'm in east. What is that? West diagonal. Maybe it's west diagonal. I forget, but I'm up there. I'm the first table you come to when you walk into that room. So come on over and hang out for a little bit, and I'll tell you some good ghost stories. And if I don't have anything to tell you, I'll make something up.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Do you like coffee?
Do I like coffee?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, really cup.
How can you be a ghost hunter and not drink coffee?
I don't know. I couldn't make soup, but that's we used to always drink a lot of coffee.
Hmm. I remembered when you asked me about coffee. I was remembering at the West Virginia Penitentiary, I did this one tour, and I greet people out in the parking lot. People hop out and shake hands. Sometimes they'll have books for me to sign, and I check them in off my little checklist. And there was a woman standing there with a spray bottle, kind of like a cat spray bottle that you would spray a
Hmm.
cat with. And her three daughters were there, teenager daughters, and she had them lined up against the side of the vehicle, and she was spraying them with the water. And she turned around and she looked at me and she goes, "Would you like some?" And I'm like, "What are you what are you doing?" She goes, "It's holy water."
Oh,
I'm like, "No, I'm good." Like, who would have
yeah.
thought? I've never seen that much holy water.
Oh, Lordy.
She
Well,
was prepared. She wasn't taking any
well,
chances with the
well,
daughters.
she probably emptied out the church's thing by thinking a lot of water, but I refill it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's something else. I mean, we have holy water that we can take along. I do. It's here somewhere. With a little bottle of it across the phones. But all the places I was at, I never felt too threatened. I got pinched once. I think I got placed intact, and my leg was broken a couple times. But other than that, I never had any evil things or demonic. I mean, a lot of people
Yeah.
say, "Oh, everything's demonic." No, it's not.
Yeah. 99% of the time you can explain something
Yeah,
away. Something.
yeah,
It can be explained. But it's that 1%. It's that 1% that gets you
yeah.
going, coming back time and time and time again. One of my most exciting adventures was at Waverly Hills. We were talking about Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky earlier, and it was the shadow people on the fourth floor. Shadow people just constantly. And you just sit there and you're like, what is going on? You see all these heads kind of poking out
Mm-hmm.
and looking at you down the hallway, and it's just shadow people. And there's so many different theories about shadow people as well, and that's a whole other show. So I'll shut up.
Right. I like to go out there. But concerts sometimes we'll go.
Yeah, Waverly's pretty cool.
Mm,
Don't go in the
yeah.
middle of the summer. That place is the
Uh-huh.
humidity,
Mm,
heat. Oh gosh,
yeah.
yeah. But it's a wonderful, wonderful place to investigate. A lot of history there as well. A lot of sadness, children and people that
Yeah.
contract
Yeah.
tuberculosis and the elderly, and we had no idea what we were doing, how we were treating them. So yeah, but I love it. Historical. You got to understand the history to maybe come to grips with why someplace might be haunted. So
Right.
history is the foundation for everything. And I'll close with that.
Okay. Okay. Great. At the tagline here, if you want to go to her website, it's got a little
Mhm.
bottom here for a while. So if you want to go to her website, the website
Yeah,
is
hauntedhistory.net.
okay.
And I own Haunted Heartland Tours, and I've got multiple Facebook pages under Sherri Brake and Haunted Heartland Tours. Got the Haunted History with Sherri Brake podcast, and just started the Etsy store with some ghost hunting T-shirts in there and some cool stuff. So I'm having fun with it, being creative.
Yeah, got a lot of books you check out too. So on Amazon, and I guess can I go to your site too? A book from you?
Yes,
Okay. All
yes,
right.
yes. They can get books from me. They can get books from Amazon. They can order from the WV Book Company online. Uh, it's wvbook.com, and all those books are autographed through them. That's the West
Oh,
Virginia Book
cool.
Company, so
I'll give them
they can
that.
order that way. And I've got
Yeah.
I think about 11 books on haunted history. I have a total of 41 items published at
All right.
Amazon. Some of them are dream journals and
Mm,
things like that. But I enjoy the creating, making
right.
something.
All right, that's awesome. I saw your light went out in the back.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Spooky.
Ooh. Yeah, my spooky office here. Yeah, I have a little bed back here because sometimes, it's nice just if you're writing a book, lay down, take a nap or whatever, and kind of
Refresh.
who cares if there's a bunch of Ouija board pillows over there? I mean, hey, what could happen?
Yeah, use your head as planchette.
Yeah, right. Yeah, as a matter of fact, my desk pillow is a
There you go.
Ouija board pillow. Yeah, all I'm missing is the planchette. This is what happens when you're short.
That's all right.
Well, I hope to see you guys again. I hope to see you in May. If you ever run out of having guests, I'm your man. We'd love to be back on. Plenty to talk about.
Well, it's been a delight having you, and
It's been a pleasure. I mean,
hope that we can get you on again.
Sounds good. And who knows what color our hair will be, right, Mel?
or mine.
Scott
Yeah.
could be.
Scott's got enough hair. We can color it.
Color.
I just decide.
Yeah, we'll just color your beard.
Yeah, I'll color the sides.
There you go. There you go.
Or I'll grow a beard and do that. What color you want?
Right. Let's shoot for
Okay.
white.
All right. I'm right there. I say you weren't there. That's all. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
You bet. All right. So next time, happy haunting, everybody.
All right. You guys take care.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.